Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Another game from round 7 of the U.S. Chess Championship 2016. I gotta tell you, Shabalov didn't disappoint. I'm not gonna say who won, who lost, but Alexander Shabalov, former U.S. champion, exciting player. He's like the Tao of U.S. chess. He'll sacrifice, he'll go after. He's a very aggressive player. And as black, top world-class player, Wesley So. Let's see how it goes. Comes across as basically a pretty much mundane semi-Slav. Knight c3. Shabalov is white, so is black. Pawn. We'll go through the opening here. And of course, Shabalov sacrifices the c-pawn. After that, look at those pawns getting pushed by Wesley, but small advantage for black, probably because of the pawn. Bishop, queen c2, knight, rook d1. Now that's the opening. That's the last book move according to the computer. Let's take a breath and see what we got here. Pretty typical semi-Slav stuff, but he did sacrifice the c-pawn. A lot of pawn movement on black's part, but he doesn't seem to be behind on development because of it. All those pawn moves, and he seems to be okay. Computer bears this out. Tiny advantage for black, but I like both sides, actually. It'd be pretty interesting to see how Wesley So castles, if at all. Knight h5, going after the bishop. Says to go d5, open it right up right away. C takes, e takes, e takes. Not as good as knight takes, then d takes. Advantage white. A lot of crap going on here. The check here is deadly. King's going to have to move. After you take this queen can come down. So obviously e takes was the correct move. Knight takes, h-pawn takes. Alright. Pretty weird position, to be honest with you. You're only on move 15. Black hasn't castled yet. Is that going to be a problem for him? We're going to have to see. Bishop g7. Last piece developed. Knight e3. Let's try to get that knight in the f5 square. Queen a5, check. King moves over. Knight f6. He's not going to take the pawn. There's no way to take that pawn. Queen gets trapped. Queen takes pawn. Where's the queen going to go? It's completely out of play. Now comes the major pieces for white. Here. 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 He's just doomed. So he does the correct thing. Knight to f6. Queen comes up to f5. Now right now the computer shows it as 0.00, even though black is up a pawn. Now I said at the beginning of the video, Shabalov is an exciting player. Let's see what happens here in the next few moves. Queen to b6. Queen e5 check. I think knight to d4 was worth looking at. Then after castles, queen takes, rook, knight, queen, knight, takes, bishop, knight e4. That was a computer generated. With a tiny advantage for black. Not much of one, even though he's down a pawn. But after queen e5 check, king goes to f8, rook goes to d6. Now Shabalov is going for it, as you can see. Both the black's rooks are not in play. Of course, white's h1 rook isn't in play, but his minor pieces are going to start swarming in here really quick. The knight's either here or here. Eventually, his bishop's going to get in. Got to be precise. He plays queen to c7. Now, this is where I think Shabalov missed cues. It's a very human move. Very human move. Knight to f5. And then it jumps to a 2.5 point advantage for black. Higher. Rook to D1 was a computer suggestion, and after queen takes, knight takes. Black's still good, though, but he had calculated this out. Knight to E8. Great defensive move. Great defensive move. Looks like the king is just getting pummeled, but he's really okay. But he had calculated this out. Knight G7. Queen takes. Knight to E6 check. And this is where he miscued. Just cool and calmly, Wesley So plays king to G8. And white is doomed. He just miscalculated what he thought was going to happen. He didn't see the king to G8. He figured, get the queen down here. This rook is coming. You'd have to move the king. It's funny. Maurice Ashley, during the broadcast of this on the St. Louis Chess Club and Scholastic Center YouTube channel, they have all the rounds there, by the way, if you want to see all the action, explained it's a blind spot sometimes for grandmasters. Just amazing moves where you put a rook or a bishop or a knight on a square that your opponent's pawn can take it. You just don't think of it. But computers, of course, have no emotion, and they can see it easily. And he missed that. And he was absolutely beside himself. Absolutely beside himself after king to G8. To give you an idea what would have happened after that. After knight, bishop takes, queen. Absolutely doomed here. Rook D8. White is just busted. Just busted. So tough break for Alex Shabalov. They got a lot of nicknames for him. Shabby, Shaba, Shaba the Hut, all kinds of nicknames. He's a pretty interesting guy. I saw him at a tournament in Massachusetts one time years ago. Anyway, folks, that's one of the games. So Wesley So gets off. An hour and 40 minutes to play this game. So he basically got a day off today. Keeps his up-front standing just behind Fabiano Caruana in the U.S. Championship. And I want you to remember, folks, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Trying to make sure it's not about a one-way train and making sure everyone knows that he's here to win a championship as well. Wesley, so first of all, congratulations on your game. This game was sharp. The opening was crazy. It was wild. You seemed comfortable throughout this opening. Take us through your preparation that led you to play this position.
Well, there are quite a lot to talk about my game, I suppose. But first of all, I'm real thankful that I won today. And I was kind of praying during the game that I wasn't losing by force at some point. But, well, it's clear that Alexander Shabalov is a very, very super aggressive player. And he's played the semi-Slav twice with white in this tournament, and in both cases he sacrificed his pawn on c4. So it's clear he was going for my head.
Yeah, he doesn't play quiet positions. To be sure, he loves having those aggressive positions.
He doesn't play quietly. He doesn't play for though. He always goes for the kill. And today simply wasn't his day. So actually, I played the semi-Slav, and I wasn't expecting Bishop G5. I don't think that he has played it recently.
But certainly a line that you would suspect he might play, given that he's so sharp a player. No.
Yeah, probably bad preparation on my part for, but because when I was studying this position of white, this pawn sacrifice Bishop H4. I couldn't find any problems for black, so I was quite confident, but still I should have revised this line before the game. And then he went for this queen c2 rook d1, which I never would have guessed that he would go for, and I should have prepared better. But still, I remember.
I mean, your position was just so fantastic, though. Whatever we looked at, everything you had seemed to be okay, at least.
I don't think so, actually. So here. But fortunately I won, so I could. Here knight f6 is a mistake, I believe. So instead of knight f6, 6, I should have gone, I think, if my memory holds me correctly. I can never be sure unless I check with an engine, but I think the only move for black is rook d8. And this should lead to a forced draw. I believe this is what he prepared. Knight f5, king f8. And then I don't remember now, but this should be a forced draw. For example, one interesting idea white has is the move pawn to a4. And if black takes with the queen, he loses right away due to queen d2. And everything is pinned. So
with queen d6 coming and
knight is pinned, check. So.
Right.
So this is a very, very dangerous line, and I believe rook d8, and it should lead into a forced draw somehow. But unfortunately, I played too quickly, and I played knight f6. Only then I remember that it should have been rook d8. So I think knight f6 is bad.
And you thought knight f5 would be tough for you in this position?
Yeah, so here I started thinking for around half an hour. And I believe knight f5 would be better, or much better, for white.
The engines were seeing this as more or less equal in this position, but definitely this knight f5 idea was what they wanted to play first.
So I remember correctly.
Yes.
And the point is, after king f8, he has the move knight d6.
Right.
Hitting my bishop. And, you know, the f5 square is always weak for me, and he has knight e5 ideas. And I thought here, after knight d6, I was thinking bishop d5, but I'm afraid it doesn't work. He just takes on d5.
Right. This the engines did give as bad for you.
And queen e4.
But the engines said that taking on f3 was forced, which looks like it helps white completely.
Well, I'm afraid I would have no other choice because knight e5 is coming. Bishop, and here very important to take with the pawn.
Right.
So
exactly.
that he has king g, not to take with the bishop because his rook on h1 will be stuck, but then king g2 and
light square compensation.
Fortunately, we know now that Alexander Shabalov is not using an engine during the game. So I was worried about this.
Yeah, this is the best line that the engines gave, that white should play just like this. But instead he played queen f5, which must have been a bit of a relief to you.
Yes, I was, you know, it's always difficult to play these complicated lines. I mean, I accepted the pawn in the opening, and then I had some kind of a memory lapse playing knight f6, and I was worried after knight f5 I might somehow be just worse, or hopefully not losing by force. But when he played queen f5, I was content.
And then we see the line continued a couple more moves. He played with this check, and then he went for it suddenly. This queen, when you saw this line coming, rook d6, queen c7, knight f5, did you just sit up in your chair and think, wait a minute, I think I'm winning?
Yeah, unfortunately I was. But actually I saw this line when he played queen f5 already. So I think he just missed in the end the king g8, which protects my...
So when he played queen f5 and you played queen b6, you saw the whole forcing sequence of all these moves coming. Of course, there are forcing moves with check, king f8, rook d6 is forcing. Again, in knight f5, and you were at this moment calculating everything out.
Yes, I saw this when he played queen f5 until king g8, and I thought, hey, I'm just winning here, so of course I wasn't expecting he would go for it. And it's a funny line actually. After knight f5, knight e8, I thought at first he has a saving resource, rook d takes h6.
I looked at that myself. That was my idea with the computer. It doesn't suggest taking on h6 at all because it's smarter than all of us.
Yes.
But I was wondering, hey, maybe this move until, oops, and saw rook takes h6.
Yes. And the point is after queen c7, I take on h1 with check. Otherwise he would...
Oh, I didn't point out this variation. It means queen c7 now, rook takes
rook h1.
Yeah, with check first. Yeah, and then that's it.
Otherwise he would have regained his pawn. But...
So you calculated it all out. Great piece of calculation. Winning with the black piece is always good in a tournament.
Thank you. Well, as I said, I think I didn't do anything special. It was...
other than calculate about 8 moves deep and check all those variations and make sure you had sacrifices saved. Nothing special, guys. That's just par for the course for a 2,800 player.
It was clearly an off day for Alexander Shabalov. I mean, yesterday he played a really great game against Shankland, but maybe that drained all his energy. I'm not sure.
Well, we're not going to hear from him because he wasn't too pleased with today's results. And you're being a gentleman and also a little bit self-effacing, I think. That calculation was fantastic.
Well, it was a winning line, but actually, if you go back, instead of queen e5 check, I think he should have gone knight d4 here, and then I still think it's around equal. Most likely,
But with great compensation for you, your bishop in g7 is going to be a great piece.
I would probably play a6, yeah, and then queen e5 king, and then now king f8, and I'm not sure which knight. Let's say knight df5. Rook
I think the Indians
e8.
were giving castles instead of a6.
Castle.
Time to get back the pawn
Queen
in that
b5.
position and just play with your bishops as opposed to.
I suppose, yeah, I have the bishop there, but again, f5 is very weak, and if he goes knight f5, h6 would be hanging. So I'm not sure how I can equalize here. But
Yeah, I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure this is the engine. This is the engine's first line is castles. We'll see though. We can take a look at that. It doesn't matter right now. You're in first place in the tournament. How does that feel?
yeah, it doesn't matter right now because next time I'll play rook d8 and make it But well, I'm very delighted again. Alexander Shabalov had an off day, so I feel kind of sorry for him. Yeah, every chess player can have misses like this. I was completely sure though that he would play something aggressive. I just didn't expect this this line of the semi-Slav. But I'm very happy. I finished early today.
Not every day you work for like an hour and 40 minutes at the job.
And a win.
And a win on top of it. With
Yes,
black.
With black, it's never easy to win with black. But I'm satisfied with my chances tomorrow. I'm playing Alex Onischuk. So even though I'm leading right now, that will still be a crucial game.
Well, thanks for indulging us, spending some time with us. After all, you didn't do too much work today, so we worked you a little bit here doing the interview. Thanks so much.